Hey, Deliberate Leaders. I'm your host, Jennifer Drean, Executive Business Coach at Deliberate Directions, where we are dedicated to helping leaders build strong, thriving businesses. And each episode here on Deliberate Leaders podcast, we are bringing inspiring interviews to you to help you on your leadership journey. So today we have with us Lindsey Bowshier of Tribute Media. She has, I guess, a big announcement. I don't know, have you kind of announced it to the world, your new role?
Yes.
So go ahead, tell us a little bit about it.
So I have been with Tribute Media for almost 7 years now and have been a partner for about 5. And as of October 1st, I just stepped into the role of president of the agency.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What were you doing before you became president? What were you doing
So, my official title was Director of Web Strategy, and I'm still directing web strategy. Director of Web Strategy was actually not a job role or description until I, kind of crafted it for myself anyway. So it's not necessarily something that's like vacant now. I'm still a strategist, but also additionally leading the agency.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. We look forward to asking you a few more questions, particularly about where you hope to take Tribute Media in the future. But we'll ask a couple other questions first. So first and foremost is Tribute Media is a web marketing agency that specializes in inbound marketing and web design development. And I think I saw on your LinkedIn that you are a HubSpot certified trainer. Can you tell us a little bit about what Tribute Media does and what is a HubSpot certified trainer?
My favorite thing to talk about. Yeah, so Tribute Media, we've been around for 13 years, started out as a web development agency, quickly added marketing as it became clear that that's, your web presence is the foundation of all of your web marketing efforts. So they obviously go very hand in hand. And then about 5 years ago, we became HubSpot partners. HubSpot is very popular. Many of the listeners may have already heard it or may even be using it. Marketing automation tools, sales enablement tools, client delight tools. And so, 5 years ago, we started working with HubSpot. We started helping people implement HubSpot in their businesses. And so both Corey, our founder, who was serving as the president up until October 1st, he and I both became HubSpot certified trainers when they launched the program in 2018. So Corey and I were actually two of about, I think the first just 40 to 60 people in North America to become HubSpot certified trainers. The program's much bigger now. There's hundreds and hundreds, but it's very cool that we were kind of a part of that first class of HubSpot certified trainers. Additionally, we provide support for the HubSpot community in Boise. So we host a HubSpot user group, and that is just a great community for all of the people here locally. And really, now that we're virtual anywhere, all of Idaho, we actually had someone join us from Sun Valley on the last one. So we are a support community for people using HubSpot to just exchange ideas and tips and tricks on how to implement inbound marketing and the HubSpot tools in your business.
Awesome. And you answered my question. I had seen something that you had a HubSpot group. So what do you do at the HubSpot group? That's a lot of words to say in a row.
Well, so it's fun. You just call it a hug because it's a HubSpot user group. So the acronym is hug. We have a lot of fun with that. And now in COVID times, it's a little bit scarier, but we used to joke about hugging everybody when they came. But now I feel like that just makes people feel extra uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a HubSpot user group, like most kind of software user groups, it's a lot of people using those tools, talking about different ways they've used tools to solve problems. Case studies, really in-depth training on really specific granular tools within the larger suite of tools that only make sense to people who are using the tools day in and day out. So it is, it is really meant for people who are already fully implemented. We of course invite people who are looking at HubSpot, who are thinking about buying it so that they can get a feel for it. But we always make sure that the group focuses on how do power users become even better at using it instead of trying to sell the product.
Sure.
So yeah.
Gotcha. Excellent. Well, I have a couple questions for you specifically about leadership. One of the things that I found when I was doing some research on you is that you were recently awarded the Idaho Business Review Accomplished Under 40, which I just think is super cool. And then in general, kind of ask your opinion on like, why do you think you were chosen? Because I know it's a big pool of candidates.
Well, yes, thank you. It's a weird year, obviously. Finding out that I was nominated at all was fantastic, especially because I had been nominated a few years ago and did not end up being an honoree. So having that second shot and just being noticed a second time was really wonderful. Of course, I had big dreams of my table with all of my people who helped me with all of my achievements being there. But this year we did a little virtual event, which was also really cool because normally at the events, there isn't an opportunity for each honoree to speak. And we all got a chance to say a little something on video. So that was really, silver lining, right?
Yeah.
But as far as, being honored, I've known so many other people who've been honored in years past that it feels amazing that I'm like on the same playing field with those people, because in my mind, they're just like the best of the best. And so it was just, it was amazing to have that recognition. And as far as, why I was chosen, I don't know. I think in the last several years, just a lot of the work that I've been doing is becoming more visible. And particularly as it relates to some of the work I do in Meridian Downtown. I'm president of the Meridian Downtown Business Association, and there's just a lot of activity happening in downtown Meridian. So I'm sitting at a lot more tables, getting a lot more input on a lot of things, that are happening and being able to represent our community here in that way. So I don't know if it's just a visibility thing. I'm also really not very good at saying no to like getting involved and getting on boards and volunteering for stuff. So, could be those laundry list of other things that I do besides my role at Tribute Media.
Yeah, for sure. I know that's something I struggle with too, is saying no. It's been a skill that I've been honing so that I can be a better leader, is developing the word no in my vocabulary when I overcommit to a lot of things. So, so what would be the number one maybe leadership tip that you could give our listeners today?
I don't know if it's a tip as much as it is just to share a little bit about my style of leadership that I think has been really effective, at least in the team that I serve. And I think that's part of it is what I just said. I serve my team. That's how I look at myself as a leader is, I'm here to support them and help them achieve their goals. So that's part of it. The other thing that I would say about my leadership style that I've actually, on one hand, I've kind of gotten, constructive criticism on or feedback, but I just sort of own it anyway, which is I'm pretty vulnerable. And I'm very, I think a lot of people take seriously people who come into a room and command the room and they're confident and there's no question marks at the end of their sentences and they have a plan, they're moving forward, and this is how it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little bit more, like I said, on the vulnerable side. I cry in front of my team more often than I'd like to admit, but it's always coming from a place of being like aggressively advocating for what we do for our clients and what our purpose is. It comes from a place of just always wanting to make sure that we are putting our best foot forward as an agency and fulfilling our mission, which is to help other businesses grow. So I put myself out there a lot, and I ask for feedback all the time. I lead through asking my team, what could I be doing better? Am I showcasing our company values? Am I leading a company that you're proud to work for? So I think, like I said, I don't know if that's a tip, because honestly, people have given me the tip, like, no, you should, you should sound more confident. You should just, it's just not my style. And so, I
like that, kind of being authentic, right? Like vulnerable, but also authentic, and not apologizing for being the leader that you are. It's obviously working well for you. You've got a lot to show for it, so which is super cool. I think that one of the things that you kind of mentioned just now that really spoke to me was like the vulnerability and the crying in front. I'm in a very male dominated industry in my primary profession, which is as an optometrist. And so one of the things that I have to consistently remind myself is it's okay to be a soft, squishy, like vulnerable person. And actually it makes me a better leader for it, because those people relate to me instead of seeing me on this pedestal of being this like high up figure of authority. They kind of see me as a part of a team, which is what I consider myself. So it sounds like you kind of do something similar to that.
Yeah, and I think another piece of that too is it's very consistent. I'm consistent in leading that way. My team doesn't just see me get like upset and frustrated and cry. They see me read a blog post that's very well written and be like, this is so good. You know, I'm so proud of you. You know, they see me cry those happy tears when I'm super energized and excited about something they've done. So it just is me being very, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, and I don't even know if it's emotions. It's just like water that comes out of your eyes. I don't know.
That's funny. Yes, agreed. I think it's good, but I think that energy is really cool. And it's probably part of the reason that I think I saw for a couple of years, you guys, Tribute Media had one of the best companies to work for in the Valley or Boise, Meridian.
Idaho.
In Idaho. Fantastic.
Yeah. And I would love to just say that, you know, I feel that we still are. I think our team would tell you we still are. We've actually just come to the realization that we were not the high growth company that I think we thought we were at one point. And we've very deliberately like kind of, you know, not through like layoffs or anything like that, but just sort of through evolution and attrition, we've sort of just kind of right-sized into this very small group that we're kind of just operating more like a creative, collaborative sort of environment now. So we actually don't even have enough employees to qualify to be a part of that competition or, you know, recognition format anymore. But I would think if you would ask any of our employees now, through that process of becoming a smaller lifestyle agency, they would tell you that just all of those reasons that we were recognized, the years we were recognized, have just gotten better because we've focused so much on the culture and making sure everybody has the freedom and flexibility to do their best work in the best way for them.
Yeah. One of the things that you kind of just mentioned there that I'm just aware of from having known you on a personal level is that you did go through a pretty big kind of shift in the company where you went from this kind of more hierarchical type of an accountability chart. I know I said I wouldn't talk about accountability charts, but I've been told by you that you've recently like flattened that out and made a really collaborative team where everyone's on the same team working towards the same common goal. Do you want to speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I would love to. Yeah, I don't even know if these are like real business words, but I've just been saying like we've flattened our organizational structure. You know, we used to be pretty management heavy, and there was this idea that like there was somebody who oversaw development and someone who oversaw marketing, and you know, and it just with the size of our team and some of the shifts, it just didn't really make sense anymore. We were too heavy in that area, and really what it comes down to is there are so many facets to being online, and it takes a lot of different types of experts to be able to do what we do. And so what it really comes down to is we have people who own their area of expertise. So I might be the president of the company, but there is nobody more qualified in this company to direct the design of a website than Don Elliott, our art director. There was nobody more you know what I mean? So again, that vulnerability, that, you know, being like a servant leader, I lean on all of my people in their area of expertise, and I let them, you know, make decisions about the best way for Tribute Media to develop our own best practices. So, anyway, all of that is to say, instead of having departments that all report to a manager, we've just sort of said, we've kind of made those departments more granular, and we've said, okay, you are the Department of Design, and you are the Department of back-end development, and you are the department of search engine optimization, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, that's really been the big shift, is just having a lot of owners, everybody is a leader in their own right.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good rule of thumb. And I think it instills a really high level of accountability and ownership within the company. And then everybody wins for it. You guys, Tribute Media, and your clients, right?
100%.
So, yeah. Well, great. That's awesome. So we kind of touched on a little bit. I know the accountability chart is not your favorite thing, but one of the things that is different about your current structure is that you obviously became the new president, right? And what was something that kind of, I know we've talked in the past about, rocket fuel and traction, and you guys are working on implementing traction and EOS in your company. How has that played a role in some of the decisions that have been made recently about your leadership?
Yeah. So, very much, you were a big part of this. As you know, you made the recommendation to me to read Rocket Fuel a couple of years ago. And so I actually read Rocket Fuel before reading Traction. And it really spoke to me because, again, as I kind of mentioned, we were sensing there were some things that weren't ideal about the structure of our company, but we couldn't really pinpoint what the pain there was. And through reading Rocket Fuel, what I realized, and again, this just goes right to how I'm explaining that we've been right-sizing without laying people off, is what happened is we just realized there's this huge overlap, first of all, in what we were doing. So, as you know, some of the basic tenets there are, for each area of responsibility, like one person can wear multiple hats, but you can't have multiple people in charge of one thing. And we had that all over our organization. So we realized why that felt so painful. And then we also realized that Corey and I both shared primarily visionary traits. And we have a great integrator in our director of operations and another partner in the agency, Jillian. But Corey and I were both visionaries. So as you can imagine, we were very often both trying to do our visionary thing, and we weren't always aligned in that. Or there was too much vision. That could be a problem sometimes too. Too much vision and not enough integration. So anyway, when we kind of came to that realization, that's when we knew we needed to start making shifts that would ultimately put me in the seat of the president role. Now, it could have gone either way, right? It could have said, okay, we need to find a different way for me to be a visionary in this organization. But ultimately, it worked for Corey's big ideas and his future plans to let me move into that. So yeah, I mean, that was really the foundation for kind of making these shifts, was coming to that realization that we had two visionaries and a lot of people trying to do the same jobs. Mm-hmm. And it was not the best.
Yeah. So one of the struggles that a lot of leaders, especially visionaries, have is kind of letting go. And I know that from our conversations in the past, that's something that kind of maybe got struggled with a little bit in your organization as you were kind of going through some of these shifts, whether that was you letting go of something you had been doing and aren't anymore, and Corey letting go of the role of president. Can you speak to what some of that letting go pain felt like and how you guys overcame it?
I sure can. I hope Corey is okay with me saying this. I'm sure he is. But no, I mean, it's kind of scary, right? We had in the days leading up to me taking on this president role, so literally 2 weeks ago, I think we both got into a very fear place, and it got scary for a minute. But we've been planning this. We've been working towards this for a really long time. So, ultimately it was just something that we had to talk through and just kind of really put all of our fears out there and talk through them. But yeah, I mean, it is I've had every job in this company pretty much at some point or another. So yeah, I've brought in lots of different people to take over those different responsibilities. And letting them run with new ideas, because, I know how much like work and effort and pain I went through to create certain processes, and then somebody else has different pains from the processes I put in place, and I just have to let them do their new thing. And so one thing that I have been trying really hard to do is that I have this really bad habit of, well, it's not a bad habit when I first start explaining it. I hear a great idea and I start building on it, but the way it comes out is, oh yeah, but. And so like, I just never realized how that occurred for people when I would come right at their idea with like, ooh, but something else. And I'm like, no, this isn't, it's like improv. It's like, yes, and like, that's really what's actually happening in my brain is I'm getting really excited about someone's idea. And I want to, give them something else to run with.
Kind of push to that next level. Yeah.
Yeah. But it just wasn't coming out that way. Like, that's not, again, it's just that powerful word of but that just, we've all been programmed to be like, okay, so no.
Yeah. And also that powerful word of and, which, I always tell clients that that's our word that gets us unstuck, right? So when we use but and I don't know, those are words that kind of keep us stuck in the current, and our goal is to always be moving forward and growing. And is that perfect word. And that's the one I coach people on too, is just like, yes, and I'm working towards a better solution. This might suck, and I'm working towards a better solution, right? And so then you instantly get put in problem solving mode and solution mode versus just being stuck in where you are, even if it is a good thing, right?
Yep.
So yeah, that's great. So tell me something that makes you feel super inspired or like you're being your best self.
I think it comes down to just the idea that tomorrow I'm going to be better. Like every time that I'm in a struggle or I'm accomplishing something great, I think about what that means for tomorrow. I think about what I've just learned, what I'm taking away from it, what mistake I can avoid in the future, what I can continue doing wonderfully in the future, so like, I think that's just it's always looking toward how much better I'm getting every day. I don't know. I think that's the best way to sum it up. I know it kind of sounds weird, but.
No, I get it. I totally understand. I think it's a neat perspective to have. It's like there's that struggle with staying in the moment and being where you are, but there's also that you can always do better. And I'm a firm believer in human potential, and there is no limit to how much better we can be. And you can appreciate where you are now and still be looking forward to where you're getting to go next. And so I think that's a really cool perspective to have. So, and what are some of the consistent behaviors that you have as a leader implemented in your life and your career up to this point that's kind of gotten you to where you are?
Well, crying, obviously.
Of course.
No, I think going back to, what I just said about, looking forward to tomorrow and being that much better is remembering that, yeah, that's all every, struggle is getting another step ahead. And so I think what it's kind of gotten me here is, knowing that I love the phrase, like, everything is figure outable. Like,
Yeah.
we're all just, I also say all the time, like, we're all just people. Like,
Yeah.
we're all just people who've like either, developed a talent that we had innately or that we learned from scratch, or like we've all just kind of chosen a path in life and then figured out how to do the best job we can on that path. And so like, I don't know, there's just no like magical being that can do what you're doing better than you just because they're magical. Everybody is putting in this, I mean, maybe they're not putting in the same work, but like you said, like human potential, everyone has the potential to do that. So yeah. It's just, that whole, we're all just figuring it out. Everything can be figured out, and we're just getting better the more we work towards figuring things out.
That reminds me a lot of I am sure you've heard this before, the whole fake it till you make it thing. And I tell my employees this a lot, and I know that's sometimes people think that that's not very authentic, but I have a really firm belief that to be who we want to be, we have to do something different. And so we can't keep doing the same thing to get different results. And so in order to become the president of Tribute Media, you had to do certain things and act certain ways and be certain things. You had to be that president before you ever got there and practice being her, right? And the idea that you were just mentioned of like, we're all just people, we're all just trying to figure it out. Like that really is what it's all about. And if you want to be this or that, or have this great goal accomplished, like really at the end of the day, you just have to start being the person who already has that, and you'll get there kind of naturally and organically, which is pretty cool. So, do you have one characteristic that you believe every leader should possess?
Humility.
Humility, yeah. How do you feel like you rate on that humility scale?
Outwardly, like a 10. Like I sometimes have to look at what I'm really thinking and what's really motivating me on the inside and kind of check myself and make sure that I don't just think I'm right because I'm biased towards myself, you know.
We all are.
I do, you know, fake it till you make it. I know that I strive to be as humble as possible. And so I really try hard and I'm always working towards making sure that's how I show up for people.
Mm-hmm.
But I do also have to kind of check to make sure that, because if I don't truly believe that I have something to work on, then it's not really authentic. So I think it's, you know, that's where, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm like a 7 when it comes to like internal humility, but I'm always working on it.
Yeah, good. What would you say is something that maybe so we're cheating a little bit. So being my childhood best friend, I know quite a bit about you, but what is something that maybe I haven't asked you yet that maybe I don't know enough to ask that you would like our listeners to know?
Oh, wow. That is really tough because, you know, in leading up to this, I just kept thinking, oh, is she going to mention this? Is she going to mention this? So, you know, I don't know. I think I already like mentally prepared myself and just feel like you know everything about me. But of course the listeners don't. I don't know. What do you know about me that you want me to tell?
That's kind of a loaded question a little bit. I like humans. People are like my favorite. I think when we know things about people that aren't business related, that it really helps us connect and empathize with them on a level that makes them an even better person, and makes us a better person for having known that. So something that I know about you that's just super quirky that I think that probably no young emerging leader would possibly think is okay to be is a so-called maybe groupie of something. So you have a particular passion. We'll go with passion. That seems like a real subtle word for what it is, but a passion for something specific. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Will you tell us about it?
Yeah, so I do love some live music and I love traveling for concerts. So 2020 is like really extra hard for me. But I mean, you know, through the years, I've kind of, you know, had a few bands that I want to just see over and over and over again. But the one that I think, you know, you're referring to is Third Eye Blind. And including when I made you let me give you a ticket to a Third Eye Blind concert for your birthday so that we could go see my concert on your birthday. Thanks.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, truthfully, I love the camaraderie that you feel at concerts. I love the I like to get there early and get up front. So I like getting to know other people who've been excited enough to show up as early as I have to get up front and I've made so many friends that way. I actually have friends now, and again, not necessarily in 2020, but you know, through the years that I've actually gone to visit just to visit because we became friends through going to Third Eye Blind concerts together, or if I happen to be traveling to their city for work or whatever, that we connect. And so it's just like, I don't know, like it's like 70% about the music I don't even know. I think at this point it's like 50-50. It's like it started being about the music and about just the shows and just live music in general and that being a passion. And then it has just turned into like a whole community. So, and there's, like I said, there's a few other bands that I've definitely seen multiple times, but I think there's the biggest like fan community in Third Eye Blind.
That's a really interesting perspective, kind of the idea of using it almost a little bit as like a networking tool, right? And whether that's
yeah,
whether that's for personal or professional. Have you ever gotten any really awesome like business or professional leads from your interactions?
That's a really good question because, honestly, like I said, the lines are so blurred now that it's like sort of I have to kind of trace back how certain relationships even came to be. But I mean, I definitely have, made connections with people who like at least look to me for advice or like, in fact, I remember actually one time after a concert riding home with someone, they were like, hey, I'm giving a presentation in a couple weeks and like, what kind of tips do you have about, speaking in front of these audiences? And so like just having those kinds of conversations. So like it might not have led to like a transaction or anything,
Sure.
but to actually then be seen for like who I am in my career and getting to engage with people again about things other than the music and just, making each other better as people. So
Yep.
I think that's probably what speaks the most to that is just, people knowing what I do and asking me questions like, someone will start an online store or a business venture and they'll say like, hey, have you used this tool before? Or like, what do you recommend for this? And I love talking about this stuff. So it's fun to help people I know, be successful.
Yeah, great. So last question about that. How many concerts of Third Eye Blind did you attend in 2019? Can you count?
Okay. It was a lot. And I can't actually remember the number, but I can tell you that I went to 5 shows in 9 days, I want to say. No, it wasn't. Yeah, I think 5 shows in 9 days.
Oh,
That was
traveling, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So, are there any things that you're we'll shift off of your love of Third Eye Blind now, but have you, as like, I'm sure you could talk about it all day long, but have there been any personal development tricks and tools that you have kind of implemented in your everyday that kind of help you feel like you're getting to the next level in your career?
I can't think of anything we haven't already really like covered. Like I said, going back to ideas from traction and ideas from, the visionary integrator relationship that I learned about in Rocket Fuel are consistent, I would say. Like weekly, just in the way we structure our meetings and everything and following that format. So I would say that's probably been the most impactful, at least in the last couple of years.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely one of the more impactful ones in my business too, has been implementing the EOS model and traction. And I'm still working on getting the best integrator ever. I am really, really good at visionary and I tend to start a lot of tasks and then lots of these visionary ideas, but I don't have the people that like keep it going to finish and to completion, right? Is that something as a visionary you struggle with at all?
It isn't just because I was like gifted the best integrator ever. Jillian has been with Tribute Media for like 11 of the 13 years we've been in business. So, she's just been here from the beginning. She's like the epitome of an integrator. I could not seriously, like if I were starting a new business today and could pick anybody in the world, like I would still pick her. It blows my mind because, I think so many people tend to go into business with people they know, not necessarily friends, not necessarily family, but people they know. And when you start that way, there can be a challenge because, it maybe does come with a friendship or something like that. And Jillian and I, of course, are like very good friends today, but we started this professional arrangement as a professional arrangement. So like, I just seriously like can't even say enough good things or like convey how lucky I feel that like, that's just who I ended up with, like without even having to work to find her. It's too good.
as a visionary and who you kind of like really own that part of yourself, what do you think doing the job that you are and being the role of the president is challenging in a way that if you didn't have a really great integrator, you'd be able to do what you're doing?
Okay, so here's that part where like maybe I'm not as humble as I should be, but like I will say I do think I have some integrator qualities. When you compare like the way someone like Corey, who was the entrepreneur who started this amazing company and built something that I couldn't have built myself, like, he is visionary through and through. I mean, whatever the scoring is, 100% visionary. And like where my score came in, like, 87% or whatever. So I definitely have, and I don't know if it's because maybe for so long I felt like I was supposed to be an integrator. Like I was always in some kind of like middle management kind of position. And so I felt like my job was, and because I wasn't the president of Tribute Media for the last almost 7 years, I always felt like it was my job to integrate the vision. And so I think maybe through trying to like force that to be a thing, I picked up some good traits there. So I guess what I'm saying is, I think that I could get so far, but not nearly as far as I can with a great integrator.
Well, that is a really great segue into where are you and Jillian hoping to take the company kind of going forward, and maybe also like what's your next step as a professional?
Yeah, that is a great question.
I know it's only been 2 weeks and all, but you're
I
always
know,
right?
but like I said, we've been kind of planning this forever. We even joked about it, like when we put out the press release, that like Jillian and I have been planning our mutiny for years. But no, I mean, I think that we have a lot of like, product and service offering ideas. We have a lot of, really even just the shift that we've seen this year with everything, I think it kind of has renewed our passion for really having like products and services that are accessible to small business owners. It's kind of where we started, but then we sort of evolved into this like cream of the crop, like when you want the best, coolest, most custom design, you come to Tribute Media, but we weren't like, our price points weren't accessible to smaller businesses. I think that seeing how much people even more so have relied on the web for their marketing presence and doing business online in this COVID environment, it really just, for me, like really renewed my focus and passion for like helping businesses grow from like nothing into something amazing instead of starting already great and just getting greater. I think we have got some ideas again for being accessible to, some lower price points and, helping people grow, like I said, from the ground up. And, just continuing this idea of this lifestyle agency and really making sure that we are hiring people who are just really great at what they do and don't necessarily need like micromanagement, that they can just run with their ideas. I mean, like, honestly, the perfect employee for us is somebody who's owned their own business before. And we have got tons of employees now and in the past that like come from owning their own business. I've owned my own business before Tribute Media. Jillian owned her own business before Tribute Media. Like, we just have all been there. And again, like, but from one skill set. And so we all wanted to be able to provide more for people. And that's where we kind of all come together in this collaborative environment where we just do that thing we're really great at, along with people who are great at other things. So all of that is to say is just to continue to like recruit and hire when needed, which is honestly not often because we do have such a solid team, those same types of people, and really just continue to be able to hold up, as leadership, our promise to our people, which is, work from where you will do your best work, work at the times that are best for you, stand up, sit down. I don't know. There's just like a million different examples of things that we've implemented over the last couple of years that just that we want to make sure that we just keep making it like better and better to work here.
Yeah, awesome. Has recruiting and kind of gaining some of those new employees that do fit that model, has that been, I know you've got a lot of great ones now. Have you guys had struggles with finding those people in the past? And if you have any tricks or tips for our listeners that of like getting that right personality fit?
You know what? My struggle is the other direction. My struggle is when I meet, like I have, I can think of a handful of people right now that I would love to hire. I just don't have the need, but I think that again, we attract people who are interested in our company that fit that. I meet through, again, involvement in other community organizations, other people who are very active in that same way and very engaged. So obviously I feel like they would make a great addition to my team as well. And so I wish I had more jobs to give out, because I could see hiring, 5 people tomorrow that I know would just be absolute rock stars. So I know that's not really, I'm like bragging now. If you need a great employee, call me. I've got some ideas for you. No, and that's the thing. They're also all people who most of them have other jobs and they're happy. Like I would just love to get my hands on them at some point.
Gotcha. Okay. So you've organically gotten this awesome team, and then you're tasked with keeping morale and everything high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lucky, super lucky.
and growing enough that I can add some jobs. Like I said, we're not going to be a high growth agency. We're not going to be, hiring lots of people every single year and growing year over year. We're growing in different ways. We're growing in profitability. We're growing in, our processes and being great at what we do. We're just, like I said, we're not just adding client after client after client after client. Like we really also want to make sure our clients are a good fit. And so, that's just kind of where, our growth pace is a bit slower. And so,
Which I think you kind of hit it right on the head, that there's other ways to measure success, right? And of course, in a business, like it's not about revenue, it's about profit, right? Like really, that's what you got to look at the end of the day. But there are other ways as a company to identify your successes and celebrate those successes and those wins. And it's not always just money, right? It's almost always actually some of these other things, like a great team that has great flexibility in their schedules and really enjoys working together as a collaborative team, and creating some of the systems and processes maybe that you haven't had that will provide some stability for really great, consistent growth and healthy growth, because growth for the sake of growth is not always good, and usually just kind of throws us a little bit into chaos, at least in my opinion and what I've seen with some of our clients. So great. Well, thank you for all of those questions, hot firing questions at you. What is the best way to connect with you and Tribute Media online?
Okay, so we've got some social media out there, as you can imagine. LinkedIn is, I'm definitely getting more and more active on LinkedIn personally. Tribute Media is very active on LinkedIn, so you can find us there, as well as on Facebook. Instagram, we do a little bit more about just our culture, so you can check us out there if you just kind of want to see some of the behind the scenes nonsense. But yeah, and then I'm an open book and always will. I mean, like I said, I'm a huge nerd about this stuff. Always love connecting with people just about, growing their businesses. And so if I can ever be a resource to anyone, I genuinely want to be that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time to meet with me and talk to our listeners and kind of give them some encouragement and inspiration and their leadership journeys. And we look forward to seeing what you do with Tribute Media kind of going forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.